Hey guys and girls, this is Alish from gainmedialab.com. Welcome to my exciting world of live audio mixing. In this video, we continue with our full drum mix. In this part 2 of the series, we talk about the kick drum. But before we get to all that, make sure that you have subscribed to this channel and turned on all notifications so that you don't miss any of the upcoming videos that I post every Monday. With all that said and done, let's just jump into the mix. Before we continue with our drum mix series, I want to answer a question that was posted on YouTube by Tim. Thank you, Tim. He wants to know why I start with the overheads and why I don't link them or make them a stereo pair. Well, the linking part is because I want to have different settings for gain on these channels usually. So I don't link them because I want to have the option of sort of having different adjustments on each channel. I do start by copying the settings for the EQ and compression from one channel to the other, but then if it needs be, I can then tweak one of the microphones on its own. That's especially handy if you're using these mics in different setups and in different positions. Maybe you are not running a hi-hat microphone, so you might be dropping the second or the right overhead microphone that is above the hi-hat a bit lower to capture the hi-hat, or you have too much bleed in the overheads from the hi-hat and you want to sort of dull down the right one but keep the brightness in the left one. It just gives you options for your mix. To answer your question, why I start with the overheads, well, there are a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I get a lot of my drum sound from the overheads. So I capture a lot of the snare, I capture a lot of the toms from these two microphones, and I want to adjust them first. So then I don't have to go back and readjust the snare tone or the tom tones once the overheads are sort of added into the mix. So that's why I start with them. I also check for polarity every channel that I add into the mix to those channels because I have a lot of the sound in them already. And the reason number 2 is it's a workflow that I have developed doing a lot of gigs under extreme time pressure. And I want to sort of have a very quick approach to getting at least something going on with the drums, and I can do that very quickly if I can just adjust the overheads first and then maybe add a bit of kick. And you know, if push comes to shove, that's everything that I will be working with for the time being, and then I can add different direct mics to that sound, but I can get a really good sounding drum just with those 3 microphones. Instead of working on 10 mics, I can just work on those 3, get some sort of sound going, and then work on the rest of the mix once the band has started playing or whatever. It's just a workflow that I always use to make my life easier, I guess. Okay, let's remind ourselves where we sort of left off. The last time we stopped working on the overheads, we did the EQ and the compression on them. So let's just hear what we are working with and left with right now. So the overheads are now sort of done. I set the EQ, I set the compression on them. They are a bit brighter. They still have a bit of snare in there. They still have a bit of toms in there, which is great. I want that sound. And as I mentioned in the previous video, which I hope you have all watched, if not, then I would suggest you do just that. We have 2 kicks. The in kick is a Beta 91 by Shure, and the out kick is the Audix D6. So we will start with the first one and just listen to it on its own so that you guys can hear what it sounds like and compare it to the out mic. There it is. Let's just adjust the gains so that we have a clear comparison between the two. I'm shooting for ppm values at about -15 to -12. That sort of gives me values in the RMS world that the digital console is used to and expecting to work with. Okay, the second one. Let's compare the two. So this is the kick out, switching to kick in. And you can hear right off the bat that kick in is much brighter, but it also has a lot of those sub frequencies below 50 Hertz that I can use. The kick out is meatier, is beefier. It has more low mid frequencies that I can use. So I will enhance those natural sounds from those kicks and use them in combination to either have a good addition of the sound between those two microphones, or to have tonal variances where I can, let's say, use the imp kick for faster sounding stuff where it's more punchy, it has more attack, and the kick out for the, let's say, more ballady stuff where it needs to have a bit more meat to it, and then I can blend these two as the mix progresses and as the gig goes on. So let's just hear what the kick in sounds on its own and then start applying some EQ to it. Right, I want to sort of eliminate a bit of the low mid frequencies, around 180 maybe. Let's engage the EQ. A bit lower than that, I guess. Yeah, this is something that I'm sort of trying to avoid in a kick like this. This honkiness, it really sounds hollow at that particular frequency. So that one goes out. And just by doing that one cut, you can hear how much the sound has changed, and it became clearer, it became more compact. Let me just engage and disengage the EQ. Yeah, that's the difference. Now I want to sort of get rid of that annoying, nosy, clicky sound at about 1-ish K. That. Without. With. Now there's a lot of debate in the audio world whether or not you should be using subtractive or additive EQ, meaning whether you should mostly cut the frequencies or boost them. In my opinion, I use both, but I use subtraction most. Just compare this EQ curve to what actually then shapes the sound. With these two cuts, I've effectively done the same thing as doing 3 boosts. Let's just imagine that same curve is done with the addition. So I would have to have sort of a boost at 60 or low shelf with at around 60 or 80 hertz. Then I would need to have another boost at around 400 and another shelf at about 2K to get the same sound. So I'm using less filters, but the same sort of addition gets through. Plus, I'm not influencing the gain structure of the console in such a way where I would add frequencies, meaning that the signal would get boosted down the line. So I would definitely go with a subtraction first and then add if needs be. And this if needs be sort of gets in play here. Right now I have a sound where I'm satisfied with the cleanliness of it and I have removed the unwanted frequencies. I'm going to add the overheads now in and just listen to what it sounds like in context, and then listen for the missing pieces. If there's something that I feel needs to be added to the overall sound, then that gets added, or sometimes even more subtraction comes in play. But the first 2 frequencies are usually the ones that I cut. Okay, adding the overheads. And I still want to check for polarity. That's fine as it is. Okay. I don't hear anything sort of really wrong with the kick in context with the overheads. And just to answer or to enhance what I've been talking before about Tim's question, why I start with the overheads. Right now I have sort of a sound going on with drums, just with the overheads and the kick. And if I can have that dialed in pretty quickly, then I can add everything else later on. I still have options right now. If I would add a bit more low end, that would add more beef to that particular kick. Right. I could also go and add a bit more sparkle at the top. If I wanted to have that really attacky rock and roll sound. So I'm giving myself options over here. Since I'm not really sure about the context of the entire mix of the entire band, I'm not going to sort of go there, but I still have options in sort of expanding the range of the sonic imprint of this kick. Just by eliminating the frequencies I don't want, I still have the option of then adding stuff that I do want later on with additional filters. Okay, let's move on to kick out. And the first thing I want to do is, of course, check the polarity between the kick in and the kick out. Hear the difference? This is with no polarity engaged. With polarity engaged, we get a lot more sub addition. We get the fullness of the sound. Here you can actually hear the comb filter or the subtraction between the two channels. So this one definitely needs to get engaged, right? And let's just repeat the EQ process for this one. What I want to do now is sort of listen to it on its own and find out where the problem frequencies are, just like we did with the kick in. That sort of dullness. It really sounds like a kick drum with a dead head on it. And I want to remove that. And then there's still some clicky stuff going on. No, that's the attack. Right below it. Not that much in width. Let's just listen to it with and without. That width, just a bit more compact, a bit more in control. Let's add kick in to see what that happens, what that does to the mix. It retains the fullness. It's just a bit more controlled. Okay, adding overheads just to check the sound. Now the kick is overbearing a bit. I want to pull them down a bit. Okay. That's a good start for the EQ side of things. Let's get into the compression side, and I'll do this on each channel separately. So this is just the kick in. Let's go to the compression. Let's engage it. Ratio. I'm shooting for about 4 to 5 dB of reduction, gain reduction. But again, if we want to know exactly what our compression is doing, lower thresholds, add the ratio. I'll remove the overhead so you can hear clearly what's going on. Okay, the release time is way too long. Now, even with this ridiculous compression going on, if you have the right release and attack settings, the kick will still sound natural-ish, meaning it's not. You can hear it really, really compressed if we have like a longer release time. Shorter. You're just sort of taming the transient a bit. So I like that. Let's do this. I'm checking for knee. knee is at 0, means the steepest compression curve. Let's check for the sound with and without compression. Yeah, we added a bit more attack, we added a bit more punch to it, but as you can hear now, we've added a lot of the neighboring sounds to it. So we have more snare, we have more cymbals, we have basically a lot of the elements of the kit coming through. And this is where gating comes in, so let's do that. So let's talk about gating. Right now you can hear that with this threshold setting, I'm getting the kick and the snare. They are both utterly chopped, which means that the release time is way too short. Now I'm going up with the threshold, and you can hear it's a bit clicky. It's really short, and I want to still retain that fullness, even when the kick is gated. That's why I turn to my trusty friend, the key filter frequencies. If you engage this, you tell the gate to listen to specific frequencies on that channel, or you can also use another channel to trigger the gate. Okay, so let's find the key filter frequency for this one. Let's key solo it. There it is. That means that I can sort of raise the threshold, and the snare will not trigger the gate, because it's listening to a frequency range that is below the fundamental of the snare, or below the loudest part of the snare. I can also sort of set the release time longer, meaning that I can get a more natural sounding kick without all of the other elements triggering the gate, opening it, and just messing up with my sound. So this is the processing that we've done. This is without the EQ compression in the gate, with EQ, compression, gate. In context. Sounds okay. So we're adding the kick out. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So compression. Attack needs to be lower than that. Release time. Again, I'm just trying to tame the transients. Without. Okay, gating. Same problem. Release time. Key filter. Let's hear what the gate is listening to. adding kick in, overheads. Now this works blended together, but it also works, like I mentioned before, as a quick set change instrument. So if I use more kick in, less kick out, clicky and subby, if I go the other direction, meatier, less punchy. Blend it together. That's it for today, because we have talked about the kick drum, which was the purpose of this entire video. In the next installment, we go down the channel line and add snare top and snare bottom. I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something new from it. If you liked it, don't forget to comment on it. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to check out gainmedialab.com for more audio deliciousness. Thank you for watching. Mix great shows. Take care. Bye.